Hello, Asmondat. Hey, everyone. We'll get started in 6 minutes. Less than a minute left. We'll get started up. Almost there. Hey, Florian. All right. Let's get started. So, this is a really exciting update. I'm like sort of really regretting that I didn't do one yesterday, but I was actually probably playing Game of Stakes so hard that I kind of like couldn't think about anything else. I feel like this has been really the first 2 days where the vision of Game of Stakes has actually been a reality. It's been really exciting. We've been seeing a live network, nearly 200 validators, attacks, nodes that are misconfigured crashing and being people rallying and trying to defend the network halting because there was a sufficiently large number of misconfigured nodes. So let's just recap on where we are. Uh, on Thursday at 1500 UTC, 7 a.m. Pacific. We relaunched the Game of Stakes network, picking up where the first Game of Stakes network left off, with bigger block sizes, bug fixes to the software, some last day before exploit fixes to a coin minting bug. And we've got a live network that's humming along. So just we were live within about an hour after like relatively short notice, which some people were not happy about. But you know what? Like I'm ready to launch this thing. I'm ready to have Cosmos be live, and it's time for the validators to step up. But like I'm really it's just been going so well. So, I'm really happy to see the kinds of attacks that we're starting to see. They're definitely kind of low-hanging fruit attacks that really mostly affect validators who haven't gotten their configuration rights. And it sort of starts educating validators about how to configure, how to alert, how to adapt under adversarial circumstances, like you might see on a live network. These are the kinds of griefing attacks that definitely show up on networks. So getting your fee distribution right. One of the things that we've probably realized over the course of the day, and might have been a result of many validators misconfigurations, is setting minimum fees in Gaia d.toml doesn't actually work. Sort of been figuring out that bug over the course of the day. It was pretty interesting to see the network halt this morning. Basically, and if you look at Dev Valor Dragon's forum post about sort of low-hanging fruit attacks on the mempool, that's largely what we've been seeing. The mempool algorithm, or the mempool handling, is not potentially as robust as it someday will be. We do think it's probably robust enough to get the job done for now. It seems to handle the and if your validator is correctly configured, has minimum fees, has a max mempool size that is appropriate for the hardware that you're running on, your validator will stay up. And so, I'm super impressed with the validators who've managed to have nearly 100% who signed every pre-commit. I mean, that's amazing. I am super pleased with the attacks that we've been seeing. I'm super pleased with the block explorers, and how we've been able to see how different validators have been being attacked. Yeah, I've been super excited about the community. I was super excited that we both halted the chain and restarted the chain pretty seamlessly. I thought it was definitely cute and interesting, seeing how many different validators crashed within like literally 1 second of each other. That was kind of a mind fuck. Going to be interesting to see. Yeah, absolutely, sure. This one we're down to 3 validators with miss 0 pre-commits, and I am super impressed with all of you. But you know, there's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be part of one of the factors in as we kind of divvy up the rewards. So yeah, I mean, this is going fabulously. There are bugs to be fixed. There's lots of work to do, but like, yeah, this is going real well. And so I'm excited to see attacks continue to ramp up. If any of the if anybody who's in, who registered for Game of Stakes and didn't start up, you could still start a validator. You're not gonna win, but you could still start a validator. There's that. There's a question about an airdrop. There's a question about airdrops. This is a Game of Stakes podcast. If you're talking about the allocations from to the Game Stakes winners, it will happen at Genesis. We will be incorporating the recommendation into Genesis, to the Genesis distribution of atoms when the ICF publishes it for network launch. Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone is psyched and appreciating just like how the performance of the software, the performance of the validators, performance of the community, the scale of the attacks, the defense of the attacks, really just seem to show that like we're getting close to the software really being ready to be running a live proof of stake value with real economic consequences. It's pretty exciting. So things that are coming up, we're just going to keep running with Game of Stakes. Hopefully more attacks will keep coming. We're still internally discussing the possibility of a hard fork sometime next week to upgrade Game of Stakes to include some new features. I'm not super. I mean, we're like I said, it's a point of contention, and I'm not going to predict one way or another which way we're going to go. It could be equally likely. There's kind of two visions for the futures. One vision is a hard fork upgrade of one part of the yeah, sure, this one absolutely. This is what's cool. It's like adaptive defense. Like this is part of the thesis of running these validator networks. It's like, yes, we might lose liveness. Yes, we might go down, but people will adapt. Alerting will get better. And, in the future, I imagine, each validator might be validating on hundreds or thousands of networks. And we'll have all of this stuff like tuned like will be completely tuned, and it'll just be like automated response to all of this. It's going to be pretty exciting to see. But yeah, absolutely, we're doing good. So as I was saying, I think that the sort of vision for the future is there's some possibility that we're going to do a hard fork upgrade next week, but it's not confirmed. It's equally possible that we might, instead of doing the hard fork upgrade, kind of start, sort of setting a time period where setting a fixed date for which Game of Stakes will come to an end, and we'll gear up for launch. And we might do incentivized testnet to test some of these features that we might want to do to upgrade as governance upgrades as a sort of post-launch incentivized testnet. That kind of stuff is definitely, I think regardless, we're going to do post-launch incentivized testnets. This will not be by any means the last incentivized testnet. Like, I mean, this has obviously been a huge success. If you just look at what's going on. So yeah, I think I think this has just been fantastic. And if there's anybody have any questions for me, stuff I didn't cover, stuff that they're worried about. Nope. Okay. Yeah, no, game of stakes. Like I am so okay, yes, metrics for game of stakes. I'm going like big factors are going to be signed pre-commits. And this was a good example of the kinds of attacking and behavior and response and recovery is if you we're down a bunch today, but you manage to stay up for the rest of the next 2 weeks, it's definitely going to be a solid factor in um, it's going to be a big factor in it's going to be a big factor in the in how we score this whole thing. I want to take some time over the weekend to kind of think a little bit more about scoring metrics and probably write something down. Sort of now that we have, it's like I said, it was pretty much 100% of my brain power was like on a big factor. I mean, like if you just kind of like want a picture of what I've been thinking about, obviously like a huge factor of my thought process and my brain power was like, how do we get the upgrade to succeed and the network live again? That was obviously a big factor. The next big factors have been launch planning. We have been doing a lot of planning around launch, including scheduling software audits, prioritizing what software development remains, figuring out all of these other pieces. So all of that has been taking up a lot of my time. Hopefully over the weekend I'll have some time to think about exactly what the right way to communicate how we're going to do game of stakes scoring. But yeah, keep the attacks coming, keep responding to them, come up with new stuff to do. I'm loving what we're seeing. Everything has been super impressive. But yeah, it took me a while this morning to get my head around what was going on when we lost liveness. There was, I worried for a minute. I'm like, okay, is this the Tendermint bug rearing its head again? But as I sort of watch what people are saying in the chat, and I'm like, oh, okay, this was most likely a bunch of people, a large fraction of the validators, nearly a third or more than a third, had very similar machine configurations. And as a result, they all pretty much crashed at the same time. And, they hadn't done the adaptive stuff to adapt to the attacks. And that's why we lost liveness. And we regained liveness when enough people adapted. So that's pretty much how the system's supposed to work. Yeah, super excited about it. So thank you, everyone. And, I'll keep the updates coming. Yeah, and really enjoying playing. Bye, guys.